Here we go. Welcome to the NCAA tournament.
Everyone in this tournament is a champion. Now we have to find out where we stand. Together.
The ball is tipped, and there you are.
What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Taco Tuesday. Started a little full Monte Sports Show off with a little March Madness. We're going to get into all that with our special guest coming up, Joe Cardozo, and obviously Keith Richards. It's a nuts and bolts sports night here on the full Monte Sports Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in last Sunday. We had 36 states watch the full Monte Sports Show live. We are trending number 3 on YouTube. Trending number 3 on YouTube. Our goal is to do this 5 days a week, and we can only do that with your help. So how can you help? Real simple, a few ways. You can tell your friends and family to follow me on social media at MonteJP231, on Facebook, Monte Perez, and on Instagram, Monte Perez2. Tell them about the show, and of course, hit the subscribe button on the lower corner there. Every time we get a subscriber, sponsors will come. So, again, our goal is to do this 5 days a week, and I can only do that with your help, and I'm sure we will reach that goal very soon. Like I said, we have a loaded show today. Nuts and bolts sports guests. We're going to be talking March Madness. We're going to be talking NFL. We are going to be talking Major League Baseball, and, of course, a lot going on in the NBA. And don't forget our bingo drinking card. It's happy hour somewhere. Every time you hear one of these words, take a shot of water, take a shot of coffee, whatever you're drinking, and just enjoy the show. And, of course, keep the comments coming. Keep the comments coming. We love having the comments each show. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, George. Feels good, too. Feels good to be back. You know, we were off for Easter. Last Tuesday, we did not do a show because the NCAA tournament was on. That's why I started the show with that little NCAA one shining moment. So love having you guys. Love all the support that we're getting. Keep it coming. Keep the comments coming. And let's start every show like we normally do. The good, the bad, and the ugly in sports. So has anyone been paying attention to the Phoenix Suns? I brought this up about a month ago. No one paid attention. And you should be paying attention. You should be paying attention because the Phoenix Suns are kicking butt and taking names. They are number 2 in the Western Conference. Monty Williams should win Coach of the Year. Monty Williams should be Coach of the Year. Obviously, with a name like Monty, the guy's a winner. So all the props in the world to this team. Listen, guys, Chris Paul, okay, seen here. Chris Paul was with the Oklahoma City Thunder last year. The Oklahoma City Thunder wanted to tank. They wanted to rebuild. But Chris Paul gathered his troops around. They made it to the playoffs. Chris Paul was so good, they got rid of him. They got rid of him because they want to tank. He doesn't tank. Chris Paul's not going to win the MVP, but he should get some votes. This team is thriving in the Western Conference. Thriving in the Western Conference. They're ahead of the Clippers. They're ahead of the Blazers. They're ahead of the Lakers. They're ahead of the Denver Nuggets, and they're doing it with their big 3, okay? Devin Booker, 25 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists a game. Chris Paul, 16 points, 8.7 assists, and 4 rebounds. DeAndre Ayton averaging 14 and 10. And how about their role players? Dario Saric and Jay Crowder both providing veteran leadership. Look, I'm going to say it again. I don't think this team can get to an NBA Finals. I don't think they have enough scoring, but I love what this team is doing. They're second. They're healthy. Devin Booker is a star on the rise, and Chris Paul is just a great leader. That's what it is. Chris Paul is a great leader, and this team is second. No one saw that coming. No one. We all thought they were going to be good. We all thought they were going to be good, but we didn't think they'd be this good. We didn't think they'd be this good. So that's the good. Now to the bad. Get ready to drink. What do we have every time we mention the Jets on our bingo drinking card? Do you take a shot? There you see Jets in capital letters. Look, guys, I'm going to say this. I don't care that the Jets traded Sam Darnold. Okay? I don't care. But here's what I care about. Okay? They traded Sam Darnold for a 2021 sixth-round pick, a 2022 second-round pick, and a 2022 fourth-round pick. Now, if I was going to tell you this year going into the draft, the Jets pick, let's say your team picks third, okay? If I would tell you, hey, I'm going to trade the third pick for a fourth rounder, a sixth rounder, and a second rounder, you'd get fired immediately. You would get fired immediately. So, look, I understand the Jets want to move off him. Adam Gase is the quarterback destroyer. But this is what you get in return. Remember, the Jets picked him with the third pick. And the San Francisco 49ers just moved up to the third pick. We could ask our friend Jared, who covers the 49ers for our show, Jared Milligan. If you trade the third pick this year for a fourth round, a sixth round, and a second round, you'd get fired. But this is what the Jets do. The Jets never cultivate their young draft picks. Every time they get someone, whether it's Sam Darnold, whether it's Jamal Adams, whether it's one of their linemen, they don't know how to cultivate players. Bill Belichick may not get offensive skill position players right, but when he drafts some ones in the later rounds, when the Steelers do, the Steelers can make an all-pro into a sixth-round draft pick at wide receiver. The Jets never cultivate their players. And Sam Darnold is just another one of these players. And look, I'm going to tell you right now, Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers are on pace to have a very good year with Sam Darnold. They have a ton of wide receivers. They have Christian McCaffrey. Remember, Matt Rule used every draft pick on defense, so their defense will be better. And Sam Darnold is going to shine because he is talented and he has a very good offensive coordinator now, not Adam Gase. So again, good luck to Sam Darnold. Good luck to Sam Darnold. And now let's move to the ugly. We start the show with the good, the bad, and now the ugly. So Paul Pierce. Early Saturday morning, retired Boston Celtic legend Paul Pierce went live on Instagram and drew a great deal of attention. Okay? Drew a great deal of attention. The image broadcast by Pierce featured a house party of some kind, dancing, smoking, drinking. Everyone was going crazy about this, right? In the end, Paul Pierce got fired by ESPN. Now, look, Paul Pierce has to have some self-awareness here. Paul Pierce has to have some self-awareness here. You do not go on live where a girl twerking in the background, drinking alcohol, smoking, drinking. Paul Pierce, you're on TV. Have some self-awareness, dude. Have some you're on ESPN. And this is what you're doing? Now, look, before COVID, I would go out to eat every Friday night, meet up with my parents to a local restaurant here. And I always post food and I post drink. I like to have a couple of glasses of wine, Pinot Grigio. But I don't post me drinking ever. Why? Because I don't want someone to go back in my history and say, wow, this guy in every picture, he's drinking. I don't go to strip clubs. I'm not even at the level that Paul Pierce is when it comes to broadcasting. And this is what he's posting? Dude, you're not in college. You're not a fraternity boy. You're a grown man who's got a job at a network that everyone's trying to work at. And this is what you post? Have some self-awareness, Paul. Have some self-awareness. It cost you your job for a night of partying. Again, if this was a college player, you say to yourself, okay, young, immature, make a mistake. Paul Pierce is a grown ass man, at least age wise, but obviously mentally, he has not evolved. And to do that, now you don't have a job. Now you don't have a job. Shame on Paul Pierce. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's do one of our favorite things. Yes, yes, let's surf the crowd. Let's surf the crowd. Yeah, George, look, the Jets are taking a big risk. Listen, I like Sam Darnold, but I get it. I get it. Okay? New coach wants to bring in his a new court. Yeah, they didn't get a lot back, Brad. They didn't. They didn't. But I got to assume the new coach wants to implement from scratch. I would have kept Darnell. I would have definitely kept Sam Darnold, and I would have drafted Penei Sewell out of Oregon. I would have kept him. I would have kept him, and it's going to be interesting to see because I think Carolina is very talented. I do. I do. Yes. Yes. Idiot of the year. Yeah. Listen. Yeah. Holy hell is Paul. Listen, Paul Pierce had girls twerking. Like, dude, again, like this is just poor self-awareness. I don't bring alcohol. I don't post pictures of me drinking wine, a mixed drink ever, ever. You'll never see me in a picture since I started doing broadcasting my podcast, this show. When I had my show in New Jersey, uh, you know, on radio, because you're always going to get a fan like, oh, this guy's got a drinking problem. What's he doing? Why? No, Paul Pierce. No one needs to see you and a bunch of women twerking and just talking trash. Greg says, yeah, he won't catch me drinking because I use a funnel. Yeah, I don't know why people, listen, everyone has a camera. It's one thing if you're at a bar and you're having a drink and someone takes a picture and you're like, hey, how's it going? That's fine. That's fine. Have a cocktail, enjoy yourself. Have a cocktail, enjoy yourself. But this is just ridiculous, man. This is just ridiculous. And it cost him his job. It cost him his job. Paul Pierce probably making over $1 million working the NBA beat for ESPN, being in the studio. Now he's gone. Now he's gone. And it's by his own doing. It's by his own doing. So that's the deal. By the way, want to give a big shout out to the Baylor basketball team last night. Listen, they dominated. They dominated. I like Gonzaga going into this game. I had Gonzaga beating Baylor in my NCAA bracket. But I don't know if something was taken out of Gonzaga in that overtime game. But one thing I did not like, I think Mark Few is one of the best coaches in college basketball, but something happened last night where he just didn't adjust. Baylor's strength is their three guards on the perimeter. They're quick and they're aggressive. And Gonzaga runs that motion offense where they try to take advantage of mismatches, meaning a guard will switch with a big. But when you have three perimeter guards just standing there and switching, you're not creating an advantage. As a coach, the first thing I was watching the game, my dad and my brother, I said, they got to go 4 out and 1 in with Timmy. What that means is 2 guards in the corner or 2 forwards in the corner, 2 guards on top, and just throw it in and let Timmy go one-on-one. They were trying to switch, create a mismatch, but when you have 3 guards on the perimeter, that's not a mismatch. All Baylor did was switch at the top of the key. And someone said, Baylor they're grown men. Like these guys weren't kids. These guys weren't kids. And I'm going to tell you a funny little story. So Matthew Mayer is the 6th man with Baylor. You may have noticed him. He has a mullet. Okay. And I used to work at Eastern Invitational Basketball Camp. It's one of the most prestigious basketball camps in the country. At the end of the week, Rick Pitino would go there, Mike Krzyzewski, because they're scouting, recruiting, and they're watching all the best players in high school play. So my first year there, I'm coaching ninth and 10th grade. And there's this kid there who has a mullet. He's the only one in camp who has a mullet. And you watch these kids, and then you grade them, and then you have a draft. Well, I took the mullet as my number one overall pick. I only saw him play for 5 minutes. And everyone's like, "You mean the kid with the mullet?" And I'm like, "Let me tell you something. If you go to five-star invitational basketball camp with the baddest people on the planet, LeBron James been there, Carmelo Anthony, D Wade, and you have a mullet, you can ball." That kid won me my championship, was the MVP, and he actually went to Yale on full scholarship and was a starting quarterback for 3 years. So when I saw Mayer play from Baylor, the first thing I said, anyone who has a mullet can ball, because you're not going to walk around like that if you can't ball. So cheers to him. Cheers to Baylor. They did a tremendous job of winning, and that's my mullet story. Drafted the kid, first round, won me the Eastern Invitational Basketball Tournament. All right, it's a Nuts and Bolts Sports Nights. Let's bring on Joe. Oh, Joe, wearing the Yankee hat. It's too early for that, Joe.
Hey, I'm a busy man, Monte, but there's never enough time. There's always time to cheer for the Yanks, brother.
Joe, just give us a recap of the tournament itself. Obviously, we saw what happened last night. I thought it was a great tournament. Not a lot of fans. I thought the competition was great. Other than last night, most NCAA tournament final games, they're pretty competitive and pretty close. Just give us a recap of what you thought about the tournament and what Baylor did last night.
I thought Baylor was outstanding. I mean, as a guy who grew up as a 90s kid, likes old school basketball. I mean, that lockdown defense. I was waiting for Nolan Richardson to come out the tunnel with the 40 minutes of hell, or Rick Pitino to come out of there, full court press, just in your face D, and just punch Gonzaga in the mouth. And Gonzaga was not able to recover at all. I thought the tournament overall was fun. It was definitely exciting. I still, even though it was a long time ago, still feel bad for VCU, obviously being eliminated from the tournament because of a COVID case and protocols. I kind of knew that was going to happen to somebody. Was hoping I was wrong, but it was definitely sad to see VCU get eliminated that way. But I think overall, tournament was really competitive. NCAA did a good job of, in a bubble environment, making it as exciting as they could. And also, too, something I learned about myself, man, I really missed it last year. I mean, I was so excited for this tournament, so excited and locked in for every game. As more games went on, I realized how much I missed it last year.
Joe, how about this compliment? Joe, the Baylor of the sports world. Wow.
Oh, well, thank you. I like that. Hey, T-shirt, man. That's a good idea.
All right, let's bring on Keith Richard. Keith, we were just talking about the great tournament. Give us your overall thoughts, what you thought. I had Gonzaga winning it all. Unfortunately, they lost. We're not going to have an undefeated team once again. Last team to do it was the 1976 Indiana Hoosiers with Bobby Knight and Isaiah Thomas. What did you think of the tournament?
It was good to have a little bit of normalcy back. I mean, as much as I gripe about how much I don't think they should have been playing basketball, or they should have done it all in the bubble all season. I mean, you still feel for those kids who just want to get out there and play basketball, and that's what they got to do. I thought the men's tournament was great. The women's tournament may have been even better. But overall, it was good just to have the tournament back, start to get back to normalcy a little bit. Congratulations to Baylor. I had Gonzaga winning as well. If there's one gripe I have about March Madness is that I don't feel always get the best team that wins just because it's a one and done. Whereas in the NBA or MLB or hockey, you get a 7-game series. You don't really get that in college basketball, but that's not to say Baylor wasn't deserving to win. That's just the way it rolls with March Madness.
Joe, talk about the women's basketball just for a second. I was absolutely shocked that when I did research for a guest that we had on a couple of weeks ago, Stanford hasn't won a title since 1992, and the coach was still there. Normally, if you don't win a title, but then I went and looked, and I said, okay, they lost to Tennessee a bunch of times. They lost to UConn a bunch of times. When you're going against the two greatest programs, I mean, talk about Stanford, because honestly, I'm watching that final game. They turn the ball over. They get a 24-second violation to give Arizona a chance to win it. They almost collapsed.
Yeah, I thought the women's tournament overall was fantastic. I mean, aside from the NCAA making a fool of themselves for the 1500th time with that so-called quote-unquote gym they provided for the women, well, that tournament was great. I think one of the things people talk about when they talk about women's basketball is there's no parity. We always know who's going to win. To see a couple of double-digit seeds get the upsets and win and also push higher seeds to the limit kind of shows you how much the women's game has evolved. But I thought Stanford played a really great game. Long, athletic. Jones had a great game. The freshman Brinks was fantastic. I think that's somebody who's going to only get better as time goes by. But I think out of both, if I had to compare both tournaments, I actually kind of thought the women's tournament was a little bit better than the men's.
Yeah, and listen, Gino over in UConn, they haven't won it since 2016. And, you think every year, it's always Gino. I like it when they're not there. It's almost like when the Warriors were going to the finals every year. You get bored of it, right? So it was good to see two other teams battling. Keith, your same thing? You thought the women's tournament was just as good as the men's, if not better?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, UConn hasn't won it since 2016. Absolutely, they are in position every year to win the women's tournament. They have, without a doubt, with Gino, a competitive recruiting advantage over the Stanfords and the Baylors and the Arizonas and the other women's teams that are top tier. But we talked about it on Twitter a little bit at the time. I mean, even though Gino has that competitive recruiting advantage, there's a big difference between getting the best players and producing with the best players. Because there's a lot of coaches that can recruit a lot of good players. John Calipari, to throw a name out there. But they don't have the success that Gino Auriemma has. So people can complain about the success that he has in recruiting advantage, but he still has to win, and he hasn't won in 5 years now. So, I mean, they definitely regressed to the mean. They were just so good for so long that them regressing to the mean really isn't that much because they were that much better than everyone else.
Yeah, and I never understood because my last year coaching at Ramapo, we went to the Elite Eight. We were 26-4, and we were out. And a team that went 17-11, they won Coach of the Year. In Division III, they vote the assistants, and they said, "Well, you guys shouldn't win Coach of the Year because you got the best players." I said, "Yeah, we got the best players because we've outworked you. We outworked you to get the best players." So if a program like a Duke or a North Carolina or a Kentucky get the best players every year and they keep winning like Gino has done, they deserve to win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And Joe, speaking about the weight room, I think I have a picture here. For those of you who don't know what on the top is the men's workout session. Sorry, the picture's not fitted. And on the bottom, that's what they had for the women. So absolutely disgusting. All right, Joe, listen, I think he's the third best college coach of all time. I'm not going to talk about John Wooden. Never saw him coach. Different time. But talk about your thoughts. Roy Williams retiring this week from the University of North Carolina.
I was surprised, but then again, not surprised, just because I know he's voiced his opinion on the changing landscape of college basketball. I mean, you got name, image, and likeness, better known as NIL, coming soon. I know you had some thoughts about the transfer portal and how guys are able to just transfer freely. Just it wasn't the same game that it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago for Roy Williams. So I think he saw the handwriting on the wall, and he'd rather get out while he could. Definitely a legend. I mean, one of the greatest of all time for sure. What he did with UNC for sure.
Definitely one of the greatest of all time. All right, talk about the hire now. Hubert Davis has been with them as an assistant since 2012. Former Nick, former ESPN broadcaster. What's your thoughts about Hubert Davis?
I think it's a good hire. I mean, whenever you can hire somebody that's in-house, kind of keeps things the same, but adds a little bit of their own spin. I mean, he's a guy who definitely knows the North Carolina culture. From my time living in North Carolina, I got a couple chances to meet him through work. Definitely a nice guy, very humble, but bleeds that Carolina blue. And I think also somebody being a little bit younger and being a little bit more in the know on how things are done nowadays in college basketball will help Carolina basketball get back to where they used to be as well. That first round exit they had this year was ugly. Tar Heel fans are not going to forget that anytime soon.
You talk about one of the things that when they hired him, I said the exact same thing you said. I said, he's too nice. He's too nice. Like when you go to a legendary program, part of my language, you need a little bit of a bastard. You need like a pit bull. And I think that's the one knock on Hubert Davis as a Knick player, as a college basketball player. I think he's just too nice. Keith, what are your thoughts on that hire?
I mean, as a Carolina fan, I think it's a great hire. I think there's always a fine line you get when you're trying to have someone that has a piece of the program with them and someone who's also good for their job. It's not often these days where you see both of those. I think they got both of those in Davis. He has the Carolina blue in his blood. He has the potential to be a great coach. I mean, I don't think that he would be hired if they didn't think he was fit for their job. I mean, he might be nice when we see him on camera, but who knows how he is in that locker room. So, I mean, we'll just have to see how it plays out.
One thing that I said, being obviously a Duke fan, when Woj left and Chris Collins left, their recruiting stepped back for a couple of years. How is Hubert Davis as a recruiter? He's young enough where people know him as a former NBA player. How would you rate him, Joe, as his recruiting ability? Because when Duke lost those two guys within 2 years, where Woj went to Marquette and Chris Collins went to Northwestern, they lost a lot of recruiting. Is he a good recruiter? Or was it, hey, I want to go play for Roy Williams because he's going to make me a pro?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that Hubert Davis is an underrated recruiter, and I think one of the first things he needs to do, for sure, is who's taking my spot. As far as assembling his staff, you definitely want to make sure you have somebody who's really, really good at recruiting. But like I said, for my 6 years and living in the Carolinas and interacting with him and talking to people within the program, he was definitely one of the major factors in convincing players to come play for Carolina. But also, like you said, Monte, knowing what Roy Williams can do, his track record, knowing the program's track record was a big factor as well. But Hubert Davis is no slouch in terms of recruiting.
Someone just texted me the men in blue. We did not plan this, but Joe's got the dark blue. I got the medium blue. Keith, you got the light blue. Speaking of blue, Keith, let's move to the Colorado Rockies. All right, let's talk MLB baseball here. Back-to-back playoffs in 2017, 2018. Give us your overall prediction for this team, strengths and weaknesses. I got to be honest, when I think of the Rockies, I think of offense.
Yeah, I mean, and offense is inherent just because of where they play. I mean, they play in Denver, which is a mile high. I mean, if you've never been to a Rockies game, the balls really do fly off the bats there. Like, people say that, but when you're actually there, you actually see it up close in person. Like, it's people think it's a competitive advantage. It's not, because the other teams like hitting in Coors just as much as the Rockies do. Losing Nolan Arenado it hurt really bad. I mean, there's no question about that. We don't know how long Trevor Story is going to be here either. So, I mean, the team is on the verge of a complete rebuild at this point. I don't expect a whole lot out of them this season, just because losing Arenado itself was bad. I don't expect Trevor Story to last through the rest of the season, and those are hands down their two best players. And then I believe it was Ian Desmond who opted out again this season. For a team that was struggling to be consistent in the first place, that's just too many pieces to lose to be competitive for, I think, a full season.
So you're not even saying playoffs. You're saying get stuff for Trevor Story.
It would be a miracle if they made the playoffs.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, of course, I want the Rockies to make the playoffs, but let's be realistic. You lose arguably the best third baseman in baseball.
30 and 100, even in a bad year, right?
Yeah. You're probably going to lose one of the best shortstops in baseball in Trevor Story. You lose a good outfielder in Ian Desmond. You still don't have a bona fide ace on your pitching staff. Wolf has a potential, but he hasn't stayed consistent.
Can he be a number one starter, or no one can be a number one starter when you're pitching 20 games at home in that ballpark?
You can't be a number one starter in Coors Field. Right. I don't think that's possible. What they need is someone who can manage Coors Field, but they really need to shine on the road. And that's what Wolf really hasn't done. He hasn't shined on the road like you would want him to in a normal baseball atmosphere, because Coors Field is not normal. It's just not fair for a pitcher. But when you get into lower altitudes, you expect him to do better if they're going to be an ace, and he just hasn't so far.
So here's the question I have for this team. if I'm building this team because the ball flies out because of the air, they're building it the right way, right? They're not heavily investing in pitching. A few years ago, it might have been more. I remember they signed Hampton, and he was terrible there. So do they have the right mentality? Let's just go with offense and see if we could do this on the road. They did make one World Series, so you don't invest in pitching because 80 games, it's going to be 7-6 minimum.
Yeah, I think they're almost there. In my personal opinion, you can. I think your focus has to be offense for sure because you're playing at home in Coors Field. But I think the thing that people don't take into account is you still have to have good defense. Yes, you're going to see a lot more home runs, doubles, triples because of the atmosphere. But what you saw when you had Arenado there and what you'll still get with Trevor Story there is they make a lot of amazing plays on defense that can help minimize the offensive burst that teams have. So I think they were on that right track. Like they had Arenado at the hot corner, Trevor Story at shortstop. They need someone to hold down first base, and they need some better outfielders. Don't waste money in pitching. It's just a waste of money, but get as good defense as you can and as much offense as you can get.
And middle relievers, right? Yeah. And middle relievers.
And then the relievers. There's just the Monforts and the Burgess has not done well this past decade, I would say, with the Rockies. They're not trending in the right direction, so it's not a good feeling.
All right, Joe, I'm going to switch. I have the Major League background up, so I'm going to switch it up here. And I'm just going to put the Fenway background in there for you, Joe, because I know we're going to talk about the Yankees, and I kind of want to offset the love for the Yankees. Because first, let's talk about the manager. Got a pacemaker put in. How does this affect the team? How does this affect him? Because the first thing I'm not a doctor, but when you have a pacemaker put in, the first thing they tell you is avoid stress. How the hell are you going to avoid stress being the New York Yankees manager?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer because you can't. The New York media is after you every single day. There's no way to avoid it at all. I guess that's just something he's going to have to monitor. Obviously they wouldn't have him in the position of manager if they didn't think he could handle it. I'm assuming there's some techniques and things he's been working on and practicing to keep himself at a level head. But just being a manager for the New York Yankees, such a high-profile job, and then obviously the expectations that come with that job, I don't know about that one. Good luck. I wish him the best.
No, it's crazy. By the way, do you like the Fenway background here? I think it looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Absolutely not. That's cool. It's your show.
All right, Joe, listen. It's a different situation than Keith's Rockies, all right? Haven't won a title since 2009. Obviously, you invest in pitching here. Give us the strengths. Give us the weaknesses of this team. Because over the last 15 years, my Red Sox have surpassed the Yankees as the dominant team in the AL East.
Okay.
No, you got one title. It's 2009. You got one title.
Hey, no doubt. We don't have enough time to go down that road. I would say our strengths are obviously the offense. The key for the Yankees is health. Giancarlo Stanton, we need Judge. Those guys have to be on the field. We need health. The Yankees just have had injury after injury, whether it's offensively, whether it's pitchers going down. We just need our full team available for as long as possible. I want us to have us a fair shot because when we're healthy, our offense is as good as anybody else's in Major League Baseball.
Okay, you bring up a great point because when I look at the top four offenses here, I say the Dodgers have the best offense I've seen.
Agreed.
Okay, then you take the Atlanta Braves, then you take the Yankees, and I think the Mets, if things go well, they could. But Joe, what do you expect from these pitchers, especially since you've gone out this year and you've gotten them? Are we saying your top two guys got to win 20 games for you to be successful?
No, I don't think that. I don't think we need to have that. Everybody's got to do their part. Put it this way: Garrett Cole can't pitch every day, so somebody's going to have to step up and get us 10, 15 wins. Obviously, we know Aroldis Chapman in the bullpen is a stud, but you have to. And our bullpen's strong, but you have to get to the bullpen when you want to, not when you're forced because your starter got rocked. So we just need our starting pitchers to come through, do what they're supposed to do, and we should be just fine. But I can't stress it enough. I should just wore a shirt that said health. That's the most important.
No, listen,
for the Yankees.
Stanton hasn't been healthy. I'm not going to blame Judge. Stanton has been a disappointment, right?
Absolutely. He hasn't been on the field. We can't even give him a fair shake because we have no idea. He hit the ball to Saturn yesterday. Okay, that was a great highlight. How long is that going to last? I hope it lasts a long time.
By the way, Greg, let me just explain this to you. Growing up, I was a Met fan, and I can't stand the Yankees. So who do you naturally root for? The Mets, who didn't play the Yankees at the time, and my Red Sox,
Boston.
who have been better over the last 15 years than the Yankees. That's just look at it. Joe, you're gonna be quiet. You're gonna be silent there.
I said, I'm not going down there, man. I'm
But
not
Joe,
going
you
down
would
that
agree.
road.
Are you still of the mindset? See, Keith and I are not of this mindset because I like the Mets. He likes the Rockies. Are you of the mindset if it's not a World Series, it's a failure, or you're just like, listen, it's been 12 years? I mean, are you still of that mindset?
I am a bougie a Yankee fan as you can find. It's a World Series or complete utter failure for me. If we don't make the World Series and win it, the whole season was a waste.
Wow.
I've been like that since I was 13.
Okay, so you're still of that mindset.
Absolutely.
All right, let's switch gears now. We're going to talk NBA. Keith, look, your Denver Nuggets made a big splash. I thought JaVale McGee would come in and play right away. That hasn't been the key, but you got Aaron Gordon from Orlando. What I like about this deal, Keith, is we know the one thing that LeBron hates. He hates getting to the rim and have to jump over someone. Now, because as great as Jokic is, he's not that mobile. He's not that athletic. You have two legitimate athletic studs. And I don't think Aaron Gordon's a great defensive player, but if you saw him in the slam dunk contest, he could jump to the moon. You have two legitimate rim protectors. Did you like this trade, and why did McGee play right away?
To be honest, I don't know why McGee did not play right away, but I mean, they really didn't need him because Aaron Gordon came in and made such a big impact on defense that even though JaVale wasn't protecting the rim, Gordon really hasn't been letting a lot of players get to the rim, so it really hasn't mattered. There is going to be a point where they're going to have to bring in McGee more often. As good as I think Gordon can be on defense, as good as Michael Porter has improved on defense, especially in rebounding, there is no such thing as a LeBron stopper. You're not going to stop LeBron James. You can slow him down. You can try to minimize him, but you're not going to stop him. And that's where they're going to need someone like JaVale McGee as that second wave of defense. In the end, it probably won't matter too much against this playoff LeBron, but, I mean, you got to do something because Jokic just is going to get – as much as I love Jokic, his defense, especially when it comes to protecting the rim with his 6-inch vertical, it just doesn't work.
That's giving him 5 inches right there. That's giving him 5 inches.
I love him, but he can't jump for nothing.
Keith, you had to be happy with the trade. They improved drastically. They got more athletic.
I'm not going to be one of those people that say they're title favorites. I think that's gone too far. Are they legitimate title threats? If all of the right pieces fall into place, I think they can be. I mean, we've seen them since Aaron Gordon has been there improve drastically so far on defense. And really, as much as I hated seeing Gary Harris go because he's been such a huge part of the team for so long, it was past due time for him to be gone. And with him not being on the court, the defense gets better because they don't have to be so guard heavy. They can play bigs like Gordon and Porter Jr. who are more athletic that can handle the ball.
And just longer.
Yeah.
And listen, and we talked about Harris with you on my show, talking with Joe here and Keith on the Full Monte Sports Show live on YouTube. Definitely hit the subscribe button here and subscribe to Nuts and Bolts Sports. But Joe, what do you think about Denver? When you look at the West, I opened the show saying no one's talking about the Phoenix Suns. I've been on their bandwagon since about week 2. Chris Paul should be MVP. Monte Williams, obviously he's got a great name. He should win Coach of the Year. But no one's talking about the Suns. What do you think about Denver with this trade? Does it make them a legitimate threat to win the title?
I think it improves the team drastically. Adding Aaron Gordon, another scorer, an athletic wing, but I do not think it makes them a title contender. I'm on the bandwagon with the Suns and the Jazz. I think both those teams are really, really good. They're underrated for whatever reason. NBA fans or casual NBA fans aren't giving them credit. And another team that I still support until they get eliminated, I'm telling you guys, Portland Trailblazers as well. I think for them to get Norman Powell was a great pickup for Portland, starting to get healthy. I think Phoenix, Utah, and Portland are the 3 teams people should be talking about, and nobody really is.
Joe, do you think real quick here? So you're saying that Denver is not in your top 3?
I am. Yeah, I am. Yep.
Okay, so you're leaving the Lakers out of there.
I'm in the defending champs, man. You got to put the defending champs somewhere on the top. We need to see them healthy. They got to get healthy. The Lakers don't care about anything that's happening right now.
I know that, but Joe, you're saying Phoenix, Utah, Portland. I don't hear Denver. I don't hear the Lakers, and I don't hear the Clippers.
I go Lakers 1. I would say that the number 2 team in the West is the Jazz. Number 3, I would go Suns. 4, I would go with the Denver Nuggets, and then 5, I go Clippers.
Wow, so you have the Clippers on the outside looking in.
I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. They're one of the top 8 teams in the West for sure.
Right, but you don't have the. So, if money on the line, are you putting the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals
today? Nah, not today.
All right, Keith, give us your Final Four in the Final Four in the West.
So here's a problem with the Lakers not being healthy. Odds are they're not going to finish in the top 4 seeds. And I can guarantee you that there's no one who's going to be a top 4 seed who wants to play the Lakers at a 5 to 6 or 7 seed coming into the first round. As a Nuggets fan, if the Lakers finish 5th and the Nuggets finish 4th, I'm not a fan of that in the first round. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the Lakers are still going to get to the conference finals. And I think it'll be the Jazz as well. And it's unfortunate for teams like Denver or Portland or the Suns that might get that 2 through 4 seed, but odds are they're going to end up facing the Lakers in the first round, and they're not going to beat the Lakers in the first round.
Listen, you bring up some very good points here. No one wants to play the Lakers. Don't care about home court. Hopefully, by that time, they'll be able to get much more fans.
Their record is better on the road than it is at home. So
exactly. And you said at the end of the day, which is one of Rico's famous sayings, so everyone just take a drink right there, and you said end of the day. All right, listen, final question on the NBA, and then we'll move to a few more topics here. Is this the greatest 5 to ever be on a team? If they close the game with these 5 players. Joe, start with you.
That's tough.
Joe, it's 5 Hall of Famers.
I don't know. I get yeah, I'd say yes.
Keith?
No. and I'll explain. Or is it one of the most talented starting 5 we've ever seen? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there other teams I think that could beat them in playoff series? The championship Heat team, the Lakers, Kobe and Shaq teams, the Jordan's Bulls teams, even the Warriors teams that went on that recent spree with Kevin Durant. I don't think they're better than those teams. No, I'm
not saying but I'm just saying there's never been a team. You look at the Bird, the Celtics with Larry Bird. Okay, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson. Danny Ainge wasn't a Hall of Famer. Okay, the Lakers, Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Byron Scott, not a Hall of Famer. Kurt Rambis, not a Hall of Famer. The Bulls had Rodman and Pippen. There's 5 Hall of Famers right here.
Are we calling Blake Griffin a Hall of Famer, though?
I think Blake Griffin is definitely a Hall of Famer. I am. Yeah, great college career, 8-time All-Star. He's a Hall of Famer.
I mean, for sure. Is it the most talented starting 5 we've seen?
You guys are not buying what I'm selling. You guys aren't buying what I'm selling.
No. Right. Most talented starting 5 ever. Yeah, and we have so much we haven't seen yet. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge has played 3 or 4 games,
and they really aren't all playing together. I mean, the only sample we've had is when KD, Harden, and Irving played together, and they really didn't look that good when all 3 of them played together. And since then, Durant's been out, Irving's been out, now Harden's out.
Harden's out for 10 games.
Griffin's going to stay healthy. And James Harden knows that games are not won on paper. He knows that very well. So,
yeah, but when they have played together, I'm just taking these 3. They average 76 points a game between just the three of them, just Kevin Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. That's never happened in the NBA.
It hasn't, but didn't they lose to the Cavs twice when they played all three together?
Yeah. All right. I'm moving on because you guys aren't buying what I'm selling. So I'm moving on to that. All right. Now, want to talk a little bit about the Wizards, Joe. Look.
Oh, why?
I don't know. You have two top. I would say Bradley Beal's top 10, Westbrook's top 15. Joe, I watch them play because I have both of these guys on my fantasy basketball league. I have the NBA league packages. I'm watching games, and they're down 64-37 going into halftime. They're down 25 going into the fourth quarter. Hey, is Scotty Brooks so incompetent that he can't even get them to play hard?
Is this thing on? Yes. He is that incompetent.
So,
Yeah,
Joe.
95% of the Wizards fans I know in the D.C. area are so over Scott Brooks. We're just counting down the days. We're shocked that his key card still works every day.
I watch this team and they have talent, but like I said, they're getting blown out by 30 points going into the fourth quarter to teams that don't have an all-star. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Do they hate the guy? Do they tune him out? What has happened?
I say all the above. And it doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like you said, not even just talking about the Bradley Beal and the Russell Westbrook. I mean, Rui Hachimura is a great young up-and-coming player. The kid we drafted out of Israel this year in the NBA draft, a nice young complimented player. Of course, you signed Bertans for one thing and one thing only, to hit three-pointers. And there's a couple other hodgepodge pieces we have of young players. But Scott Brooks, just some of the lineup decisions make no sense to me. Substitutions at odd times. I just have no idea what his plan is to make this franchise relevant again. Doesn't make sense to me. And it doesn't make sense to a lot of people.
All right, so now money on the line here. Westbrook back in DC next year.
Oh, I'm gonna say yes. I say yeah. He'll be back.
So you want him back?
Yeah, I think once he got healthy, he was the Russell Westbrook we expected. And when he first came in, trying to force his way into playing, I think he'll never admit it. But I think the expectations of being on the new team, fresh start, I got to show what I can do. He wasn't healthy.
And you like the draft pick, like Greg's saying here?
Yeah, I do. I think the kid's a bright future if he get a better coach.
All right. Let's talk a little bit NFL here. Start with you, Keith. Look, I don't know why Denver didn't go after him. The Panthers gave up nothing for him. They gave up nothing. And I'm telling you right now, Sam Bradford is going to be a very good quarterback. They have a ton of weapons. He's got a hell of an offensive coach in Matt Rule. What is Denver doing at quarterback? Because I can't see them. I mean, are they going to draft one? Why didn't they go after Sam Darnold here?
New subject, please. Honestly, I don't think John Elway gave up as much of the team as he said he did. Everything that the team has done so far this all season screams of John Elway having his grubby dealership paws all over it. I mean, they should have cut Von Miller or not picking up his option. They waited until midnight hour to do that. Did almost nothing in free agency. I will admit my faults and say I'm glad that they didn't go after Deshaun Watson, knowing what we know now. So glad they didn't fall down that rabbit hole, but didn't make a play for Carson Wentz, didn't make a play for Sam Darnold. They didn't make a play for anyone. They didn't even try moving up in the draft to go after maybe a Zach Wilson or a Justin Fields. I honestly don't know what they're doing at this point. Nothing is what I can say they're doing at this point.
Keith, this is my whole point. Like, Sam Darnold, they got for nothing. Like, how can you not inquire about him? He's 23 years old.
And I mean, it's all words coming out of camp. Everything they say on TV, everything they do in article, all insiders are that they are sold on Drew Lock. And I am a big Drew Lock fan. I like Drew Lock. But Drew Lock is not the quarterback for this team as it is built. Drew Lock is a quarterback for a team that has a stout offensive line. That's not what this team has. They need someone who can play with a bad offensive line. I mean, there's no quarterback that can play with a bad offensive line perfectly, but there needs someone who can overcome that adversity with the athleticism that someone like a Sam Darnold or a Deshaun Watson would have had. Drew Lock, being the small market college quarterback he was essentially, didn't face the pressures that a Sam Darnold did. Not to say that Darnold was a superstar at USC, but he faced that adversity already at a high-profile college, and Drew Lock is not ready for that. I just don't know what they're doing. It's frustrating, to say the least.
Okay, Joe, I could say the same question here for you. With Washington, why not look to Sam Darnold? Why they go with Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I think they just want to have a veteran leader. I think they want to have a veteran leader, and I think they're going to do something in the draft, quarterback wise. Like I'm pretty confident that in whatever round, Washington's going to address the quarterback situation by drafting a young guy to have him sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick, whether it be for 10 games or a year or maybe even 2 years. But I have faith in Ron Rivera and the brain trust that they're going to get this quarterback thing taken care of in the draft.
See, here's the problem I have. The problem I have is that this is the NFL, right? And we see what Bill Belichick is without a great quarterback. People all across the world think Bill Belichick's the greatest coach ever. What did they do this year? Absolutely nothing. Okay, remember, he was 36-44 without, 36-44 with the Patriots without Tom Brady. Okay, so what are we doing here? Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the answer. Yes, he may play Dallas and throw for 350 yards and have 4 touchdowns, but then he's going to play against a bad team and he's going to have 3 turnovers in the first half. So my point is, how can you be an NFL team and have a journeyman as your starting quarterback and sell that to your fan base?
Because he's a bridge. He's a bridge to the future. You don't want your young guy to get David Carr syndrome, where you get sacked 45 times a game. You lose all confidence in your abilities. You lose all confidence in the franchise. Ryan Fitzpatrick, just a guy's going to be a stopgap. You draft somebody young, they sit behind him, and like you said, he'll have his good moments, he'll have his bad moments. And the NFC East is not that loaded, in my opinion, that we're going to be outstretched anyway. Our defense is phenomenal. It's only going to be better.
Your defense, Washington has a great defense, and that goes to my other point. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a turnover machine. If you have a great defense, you want a quarterback who's not a gunslinger. So it doesn't make any sense, Joe, because Ryan Fitzpatrick is a gunslinger.
We'll talk when the season starts. I'm not
okay.
With this signing at all, because I know he's only going to be our quarterback for a year or two. You draft somebody young, they sit behind him. Like I said, whether it's 5 or 10 games or a year. And he has good moments and bad moments. I mean, that Miami Dolphins team pre-Tua was a lot better when Ryan Fitzpatrick was on the field than when he was off.
Okay. Now, this is what I don't understand. Keith, we'll start with you, then we'll get back to Joe. So I watch a ton of college football. Okay, so when the draft happens, the first 2 rounds, I know about 90% of the players because I've watched them. And when I watch players go up against competition, I say this guy can play, this guy can't play. I think Devontae Smith, even though he's undersized, is going to be a great wide receiver. What I don't understand is that when a quarterback has a pro day, it's like, let's forget about all the film, let's forget about everything else, because he had a pro day in a controlled environment, throwing to his wide receivers in his home stadium. All of a sudden, the whole world says Zach Wilson's the greatest quarterback ever because he had a great pro day. Well, you know what? I've seen film on Trey Lance. I've seen film on Justin Fields. They, to me, because of their body of work, are better than him. But yet he has a pro day, and the whole media goes ape, you know what?
Shorts and T-shirts. You got to love it.
I mean, am I wrong, Keith? Am I over-exaggerating?
So there's one thing that has changed about the NFL, and then there's one thing at the same time that hasn't. What has changed is they've gotten away from worrying about the size of a quarterback, meaning they're not so concerned about the guy being 6'5" and having 40-inch hands. So they don't focus too much on that now. But what they've done is now they've reversed that to, well, this guy looks good on paper. He has good measurables. He can throw the ball really far. He's fast. Sounds a lot like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. Let's get them. So instead of being fixated on the old school Peyton Manning, Tom Brady type quarterback, now they're fixated on quarterbacks that can run the read option. Which that's not to say that Zach Wilson's going to be a bad quarterback. Is he better than Justin Fields or Trey Lance? I would say no. But because he's a hot guy,
his body of work says no.
Because he's a hot guy at the moment, because he looks so much like a Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes when he's on the field at his best, then they'll think, well, we need to do that as well. It's still a copycat league. They haven't gotten over that, and that's to the detriment of players like Zach Wilson, who's going to have so much expectation on him immediately when really he needs 2 or 3 seasons to grow, and he's not going to have that opportunity. And unfortunately, he may end up being a bust just because of the position that he's being put in, which is a little unfair to him, but maybe he'll prove us all wrong.
Listen, I think he's a good quarterback. All I'm saying is I don't put too much stock into pro days. It's a controlled environment. You think that when the Patriots and Bill Belichick is running up a blitz, he's going to have ample time to throw? No, he's going to be under duress. Pro days to me are just, the best of the best. Who cares? It's like a fashion show. It's like a beauty pageant.
Had a good pro day. Tim Tebow had a good pro day. Where's Tim Tebow right now?
Had a great pro day.
Yeah. Joe, so what do you think? Am I overreacting to this pro day? Because if I'm the Jets, I take Lance or I take Fields before I take Wilson.
People are just being prisoners of the moment. That's all. What can you do to get clicks and get views in your site? You see a guy roll out, throw a ball on a rope 70 yards, and like to your point, Monte, you forget about the bad games he had. You forget about the Coastal Carolina game. You just say, that guy's got an arm. We have to have him. It's almost like Al Davis takes over the NFL and social media when these pro days happen. He has a big arm. If the person runs a 4.240, yeah, they have hands of stone, but still, look how fast they are.
Or Jerry Jones takes it over.
Yeah, just becoming prisoners of the moment. I mean, like you said, I think Justin Fields is better than him.
And none of that, no disrespect to BYU, you play who you play. But Justin Fields is going up against every game in the Big Ten. He's going up against 3 or 4 pros minimum in one Saturday, where BYU may face 5 pros, 10 pros the whole year unless it's in a bowl game.
Pretty much. Yeah, no, you're right. That's my point, too. Competition matters who you play.
All right, Joe, we're going to get you guys to go here. We got a couple minutes left. We're talking with Keith Richards here and Joe Cardozo live on the Full Monty Sports Show. Joe, I love what Juwan Howard's doing in Michigan. I love what he's doing. I was disappointed I had them in my Final Four. But can we say that Michigan now is a basketball school? Because when you look at what Jim Harbaugh has done, when you look at what Michigan's done over the last 10 years, it's not even close in success.
Yeah, no, Juwan Howard's everything that we thought Jim Harbaugh was going to be when he got the job at Michigan. It's absolutely a basketball school. Who wants to be associated with losing?
But, Joe, I'm saying, does that put more pressure on Jim Harbaugh? Because, whoa, our basketball team now with an alumni coach is kicking ass.
I want to say yes, but the fact that he still has a job is so boggling and baffling to me. I don't know if the powers that be care. I agree with you. Juwan Howard should put a whole lot of pressure on Jim Harbaugh to perform. But the fact that he still has a job after all the dismal seasons we've had, it kind of makes me think, like, what's he has to do? What does he have to do? It's almost like Marvin Lewis when he was coaching the Bengals. What does this guy have to do to not have a job anymore?
I mean, the one reason why Les Miles got fired at LSU is he had like a 4 or 5 year stretch where he couldn't beat Nick Saban. And one of the things that kind of put the nail in his coffin at LSU is he had 3 years in a row, more LSU players went in the first 2 rounds than Alabama did. And then they said, wait a minute, we have all these pros going to the NFL and we're not beating Alabama. When is the pressure going to be on Jim Harbaugh to beat Ohio State, or there isn't any pressure?
I say there isn't any pressure because, like I said, he's still there, and I don't understand why. I think he should have been gone last season or even the season before that. And if you follow Michigan football fans on Twitter, I'm not in the minority in that. There's a lot of people who want him gone. Wow.
Okay. All right. Final question, Keith. Congratulations on the new birth. Tell people the name. You're celebrating. Congratulations to you. Do you have a picture that we could see?
Actually, let me see if I can go get it real quick. Can I go back for a second?
Yeah, get back there. I'll talk to Joe for a second. So, Joe, Yankees dominated today, back-to-back home runs. Again, I'm going back to the question I asked you earlier, Joe. You don't think the top two starters got to win 17 to 18 to 20 games for them to be really successful? Isn't that why you go out and spend money to get a 20-game winner?
I mean, when's the last time we really had a true 20-game winner in today's Major League Baseball, though? I mean, they have to get you 15 to 18 wins. I definitely agree with you on that point. Our middle of the rotation needs to perform as well. But yeah, Garrett Cole, I mean, it starts and ends with him. But like I said, he can't pitch every single day. So the other guys are going to have to step up. When you get Luis back from his Tommy John surgery, add him to the rotation as well. It always comes down to pitching in Major League Baseball. How many years did the Yankees have an awesome lineup, but when it gets to the playoffs, the bats are silent and the pitching staff gets exposed?
So are you concerned about their middle relief? Because we know the closer's phenomenal. Is it okay? Let's get to six. Let's get to 6 innings, and we'll be fine. Or you're still worried about that?
I think it's just let's get to 6 innings and we'll be fine. Yeah, let's get to 6 and we'll be fine.
Okay, let's bring on the star of the show right here, Keith.
Here we go.
Oh wait, hold on. Congratulations, Keith.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She's not happy because she wants to sleep, but she's
What's
doing
her name?
good. Sloan Felice.
Beautiful. Congratulations, Keith. We're going to let you go. We'll have one more question for Joe. Thanks so much for coming on. How can we follow you, Keith?
At 5280 Keith.
All right, Keith. Listen, if you want Denver sports, great follow on Twitter. Always talking sports. All right, Joe. Listen, you have a future writer there, maybe future broadcaster there in the family. Talk about nuts and bolts sports. People are asking about your background, Joe. I wasn't going to comment on it. You tell us what's going on in that studio there.
Building it, man. I'm still in the process of building the YouTube studio. If I could show you this gigantic light that's in my face, just my good friend Joe Biden gave me a little kickstart, so I'm just getting this YouTube studio started, man. Stripping the walls, repainting it, getting myself ready to start my own program, my own show.
Okay, and when is that YouTube show going to come on?
You and God know, Monte, and when you guys find out, let me know. Right now, it's all about building the background. I mean, look at the competition. We got palm trees in the background over here, spinning helmets. My God, man, I need to step my game up a little bit. Shelves are on the way.
Joe, my new motto is started from the bottom. Now we're 8 because I got an 8 out of 10. Started from the bottom. Now we're 8. All right, Joe, and this YouTube show. People have been texting me, asking me, is it going to be an hour? Is it going to be 30 minutes? Is it going to be all topics? What is the theme going to be?
30 minutes to start, and it's going to be 3 questions. It's called 3 with Joe. So 3 topics of my choosing. So I'll have whatever, whether it's 3 top stories of the day, top stories of the week. It might be something like what you just talked about the net starting 5. One of my questions might be best starting 5 ever in the NBA, college basketball, and best offense in NFL, something like that. Just 3 topics. So it's called 3 with Joe. 30 minutes long. I'll shoot you the logos so you can put them on your page as well. Logos have been done for a while now. And it's going to start off as 30 minutes.
Listen, Joe, if you could get an 8, we'll have 2 8s in Nuts and Bolts Sports, and that would be phenomenal. 8 out of 10.
We're sitting like at a 2 right now with this Goldberg's That 70 Show background I got going on right now, but we're going to get what it needs to be.
Yes, when you get a room rated post, you know you have made it. I like that. I like that. Look at Rico making an appearance.
Oh, man. Rico, you got a jail?
All right, Joe, finally, talk about Nuts and Bolts Sports. We have a bunch of new writers. Every time I post an article, it's like the 5th one of the day. So it's just nonstop action.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. You're right. We just had somebody added on, new person today, actually, as a matter of fact, the social media team. It's just been a nonstop, which is a good thing. It's a good problem to have. Lots of content coming. Of course, we'll be doing a first round only live stream of the NFL draft. So you're talking about 4 hours of live streaming covering the first round of the NFL draft. Got our hosts lined up already. Ashmere and Dom will be hosting that. I'll be running the social media room. We'll have Bill Carroll and Jeff as our Mel Kiper and Todd McShay roles doing the college breakdown, and a couple of other writers covering different divisions. So we're working on that right now. Just finished doing March Madness, which was pretty cool. It's pretty awesome hearing one of my writers say the name of my brand and then ask a member of the Gonzaga basketball team how the game went. It was a pretty epic moment. So we're just growing, man.
Joe, this is an epic moment. Look, you're actually getting compliments. Joe's lighting is on point.
Yeah, but she also dissed me on my background. I saw it on the corner of my eye. That's cool, LC, though. We're still friends.
No, and you got that light, especially for the show, right?
Yeah, it's a one of two, bro. I have to show. I'll send some pics to you. It's kind of crazy in here.
How are you not sweating like you're in Tijuana right now with all that light?
It's like a diffuser screen that you put in front of the light, and it's like a temperature gauge. I can set the temperatures for the lighting.
Wow.
You set the bar, man. I had to go all out, man.
All right, Joe. Thanks so much. Love having you on. We'll see you down the road.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks to you.
All right, take care, Joe. That was Joe Cardona. Does a tremendous job of not only letting me do what I want, but he's going to start his own show. I've been telling him for weeks and months, Joe, just do it, and he's like, I got to get the background, and I know how that feels because I practice so much time with my background. Obviously, if you're doing a YouTube show, it's not like a podcast where you're just talking. You got to have visuals, so that's what we always try to do. Always try to put up, funny memes, GIFs, videos, and obviously the background's very important. I want to thank you all for tuning into the Full Monty Sports Show. I want to thank Joe. I want to thank Keith, and I want to thank you guys. We'll be back on Sunday. Our goal is to do this 5 days a week. So subscribe to Nuts and Bolts Sports on YouTube. Tell a friend, tell a family member about this show. And in the immortal words of Llewellyn Moss, I shall return. Carla Jean.